Bryce Young looks really good so far in the preseason, but the Panthers, not so much. 2 preseason games into his pro career, Bryce Young has shown poise and the talent for why Carolina did trade up and take him first overall at the draft. He's already impressing, but the team around him hasn't made that very easy. The offensive line specifically has been atrocious, and there was already the wonder of if he had enough talent around him in the first place. Who knows how the Panthers are actually going to fare come the regular season, but the biggest thing this year is the development of Bryce Young. Bryce Young hasn't played too much in the preseason. He started in both games and played in just 5 total drives. We're going to start off with week 1 and his first pro pass, which was on his 2nd ever snap. It's nothing too crazy, but he's already making his progressions. Young looks through his reads left to right and eventually finds the open man, which is Adam Thielen. He also gets hit pretty hard, which has been way too much of a trend for him in the preseason. The Panthers' offensive line has really just looked terrible, and that could end up being a really serious problem for him if it doesn't get better. But if that line can hold up, Young looks pretty polished. Then his only other completion of that drive was to DJ Chark. He runs a stop route, and it really just shows some of Young's anticipation. He throws the ball right around when Chark starts getting some separation before he even actually comes back. And then his only other throw of the drive was an incompletion, and I think the ball just kind of gets away from him here, or it's a bit of a miscommunication. Young also gets drilled again, and the Panthers had to punt. The next drive, Carolina went 3 and out. His one completion was just a throw to Chuba Hubbard in the flat. Then his last drive of the game was another 3 and out. He got it out to Hayden Hurst as his check down on first down, but then the Panthers just couldn't get anything going. Again, that offensive line was just bad. And on his last play of the game, the pass rush gets through immediately, and Young makes the smart decision to just go down. That was definitely a smart veteran play, and that should keep him from getting hurt in the future, especially with his smaller frame. Overall, Bryce Young finished 4 of 6 for 21 yards, and it was an ugly loss for the Panthers, 27-0, but it's just the preseason. In week 2, Bryce Young did look better, but the Panthers did still start with a 3 and out. He had a quick 1-yard run to start his first drive because it looked like nothing was open. Then on 3rd down, I actually thought he made a pretty good play. He goes through his reads and just continues to hang in the pocket and eventually does see Jonathan Mingo get open. Mingo had to fight through a couple defenders, and then he ran his slant, and he just kind of stopped. I'm not quite sure why he slowed down or what he was doing, but I really don't blame Young for that incompletion. The next drive was Bryce Young's first NFL drive that actually went for points. Young had a pretty good run pass option read to pick up a first down here. The defenders collapse in, and he's able to find Mingo, who ran a little slant, and then he even finds a way to pick up some more yardage too. The next play was just wacky, man. There's immediately a flag for offsides, so none of it really matters too much, but it's still a play that shows Bryce Young do his thing once a play has broken down. He has a nice move to avoid a sack, and then he does fall down, but technically he wasn't touched, so he can keep going. Young keeps running and then delivers a really nice pass downfield to Adam Thielen. It was a very promising sight from Young for sure. Bryce Young finds Thielen again later in the drive on a 3rd down on an out. Young hits him in stride and they pick up the first. Next play, and you just love seeing this from a young quarterback. The pressure comes in and he makes the smart move to just throw it away. Now, Carolina did really get bailed out a bit on this drive. On 3rd down, it looks like Young just throws it short to Mingo, who's running a comeback, but a roughing the passer call keeps the drive alive. Chuba Hubbard gets the Panthers down to the Giants' 10-yard line, and then the drive just completely falls apart. Bryce Young gets sacked on 2nd down, and he never even had a chance. Akeem Ekwonu just gets blown by Kayvon Thibodeau. Ekwonu really hasn't done Young many favors in the preseason. Then the Panthers get called for a delay of game, and on the next play, I thought Young actually made a pretty good throw throw over to Hurst, but it was called back for offensive holding. That set up a disastrous 3rd and 31. They pretty much salvaged it as best they could, and DJ Chark picked up 13 yards, and that set up a 37-yard field goal. That was all for Bryce Young, who finished 3 of 6 for 35 yards. I do think Bryce Young has looked really good so far. He really has fit the part of a first overall pick, but I do have a lot of worries. Watching back his first 2 preseason games, it was really hard to not focus on how bad the offensive line was. It was apparently so bad in week 1 that the offensive line coach, James Campton, called his group together for a meeting after Frank Reich addressed that it was not an acceptable standard. The most worrisome thing to me was Akeem Ekwonu, who looked really bad. On Bryce Young's first 2 pass attempts, he got hit pretty hard, and both were after Ekwonu got beat, first by Solomon Thomas and then by Jermaine Johnson. Then, of course, there was the really bad Thibodeau beat the next week. That's just not what you want to see from Ekwonu. The Panthers used the 6th overall pick on him last year, and he did end up playing in every game as a rookie, but Carolina needs to see some improvement. The good news is that Taylor Moton was one of the best pass protecting tackles in football last season. That left tackle spot is obviously more important on the blind side, but it's not all bad for Carolina on the line. The Panthers shouldn't even be awful on the line. They're just not great. I think Austin Corbett is pretty good there at right guard, but Brady Christensen was terrible last year. I have to imagine that's partially a reason why the Panthers took a guard in the 4th round of the draft, Chandler Zavala. Finally, Bradley Bozeman wasn't anything too special at center, but he's fine, I guess. The offensive line is just not a very inspiring group, to say the least, but it's not like the other offensive weapons around him are very special either. The Panthers did trade away DJ Moore to the Bears in order to get that 1st overall pick to get Bryce Young. And if that's what they had to give up, it was the right call, but it still hurts. He was a very reliable one, and now Carolina has basically a makeshift wide receiver core. Don't get me wrong, at one point, Adam Thielen was incredible and a top-tier wideout in the league, but it's been a long time since then. His best days are definitely behind, but he is a good veteran presence and surely still has some good play left. I just wish he wasn't the one. DJ Chark at the 2 is okay. He was actually super reliable in Detroit last season, and he was good for a couple of seasons in Jacksonville too. Chark isn't anything spectacular, but he'll work. There's the chance that Jonathan Mingo could move up in the depth chart too, depending on how he plays. He was fantastic at Ole Miss and just got drafted in the 2nd round. The Panthers also have 2 other 2nd rounders behind him, Terrace Marshall and Laviska Shenault, who have mostly just disappointed in their pro careers so far. At tight end, Hayden Hurst has been around the league, and I think he's a solid option for Bryce Young. There's also the very real chance that Frank Reich simply wants the offense to run through the ground game. It's not just his first season at Carolina, but he has a rookie quarterback too. The Panthers went out and paid Miles Sanders, probably for that exact reason. He was good as hell in Philadelphia, and he could be the focal point of the Panthers offense this year. Bryce Young is going to be good. I just know it. I feel it. He has all the tools, and he looks the part of a starting caliber NFL quarterback. The Panthers made the right decision naming him the Week 1 starter, and now it is his time to shine. I just really hope that the lack of talent around him doesn't hurt his play too much.